Start with the Buccaneers. Their win total is 11.5. The under actually juiced minus 120. They, of course, brought Tom Brady back, even though after technically retired, but they did lose O.J. Howard, Ronald Jones, Ali Marpet, and Alex Kappa, two guards, one who signed with your Bengals, Breech, the other Marpet, who surprisingly retired. Ryan Jensen came back there. They re-signed him after Tom Brady came back. He promised he would hang out with Tom for one more year, 13-4 last season. You look at the schedule, Breech. It ain't easy, but you don't really want to get in front of the Buccaneers with how bad the rest of the division is.
Yeah, the schedule is brutal. And so that is why this gives me pause. Obviously, if this was just who's going to win the division, I'd probably drop everything on the Buccaneers. But we've heard Wilson talk the last couple of weeks that he's not so sure the Buccaneers are going to make the playoffs, which sounds crazy on the surface. Then when you kind of look into it, it still sounds crazy. But here's what I will say.
Who does he think's winning the division?
I don't know. Or maybe he thinks they win the division with 9 wins. He thinks the Buccaneers are in for some major regression.
Okay.
9
wins and winning the division would still get him in the playoffs.
That's true. So maybe that's what he said. He just thinks they're going to regress a lot. So the one thing I will say on this division is that, number one, I think they probably go 5-1 in the division. So there just feels like there'll be at least one upset. Obviously, Tom Brady has never beaten the Saints in the regular season as a member of the Buccaneers. He's 0-4. So maybe the Saints split. I don't think they'll sweep the Buccaneers again this year. So if they go 5-1, then you think, all right, can they go 7 and what is it? So that was 5-1 in 6 games, 7-4. Can they go 7-4 in their other 11 games? And I'm not so sure they can. I mean, you look at their non-divisional games to start the season. You have the Cowboys, the Packers, and the Chiefs. Those are their first 3 non-divisional games. I mean, those are all possible losses. Those are brutal. That those are 3 of your first 4 games, and obviously they have a week 2 game in New Orleans. And then you look at the back end of their schedule. They play the 49ers, NFC title game last season, the Bengals, the Cardinals. And so when you get outside of the division, all these games are pretty tough. So, Brinson, what I think I'm trying to say here is that I have talked myself into the under. I think they go 11-6, which 11.5, that is, just 12 wins with this schedule seems tough.
Sometimes you look at a schedule and you think to yourself, you can, and it sounds weird, but you can look at their schedule and be like, this is really, it's just I don't know if it's a coloration of the Rams, the Packers, and just the way that all these good teams pop out off of the schedule, the Cowboys, and they're a lot of them on the road, the Packers at home and the Chiefs at home, and that's fine. But I tend to agree with you. I think one of the major concerns too is that you lose 2 guards like that with the Tom Brady offensive line. What if you go up against a team? Let's see who on here.
The Rams.
What's that?
The Rams. They're a team with a good pass rush.
Aaron Donald. Yeah, exactly. It seems like that would be a really, really difficult matchup for them. So I tend to agree with you on the under, but I don't have any interest in betting it because
Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady. I mean, yes, the Packers could be favored, in Tampa Bay, but I think Tampa will probably be favored and they could beat them. Same thing with Kansas City. And the 5 wins that they're probably going to pick up in the division just make it just really tough to fade the Buccaneers and go under here, I think.
Well, and it's crazy. You mentioned the Buccaneers losing 2 offensive line. They have replacements coming in. So this is not the same offensive line we saw last year. And this is not the year you want to be having that issue because you look at the Buccaneers schedule. You know who the 5 top sack leaders were in 2021?
TJ Watt, Aaron Donald.
TJ Watt, Robert Quinn was number 2, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Trey Hendrickson. At that top 5,
that doesn't include Aaron Donald.
And that does not include Aaron Donald. Out of that top 5, do you know who how many of those the Buccaneers have to play?
At least 4 of them. I counted, maybe all 5.
4.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the best pass rushers. The Buccaneers have to play the best pass rushers in the NFL this year with a completely revamped offensive line.
Yeah. It's, again, it's just one of those where you want to take the under, but you have to bet against Tom Brady, which is totally something that Ryan Wilson would do and make him look stupid. So I will begrudgingly pass on the under, even though I think you are perhaps correct about that total. The